Hello, my name is Kayla Osbron, and today I am presenting on educating consumers on car sales. My husband is a car salesman, and so I hear car talk all day when he gets home from work. We also just went through the car buying process ourselves about a year ago when we ended our current leases. We were really torn on, do we buy new, do we buy used, and how do we know that we're getting the best deal? Now, my husband, as a car salesman, as I said, thinks he knows what's best, but I wanted to see the numbers myself and the statistics myself. It's very important for all of us to invest our money wisely. Particularly in car sales, people come in educated and wanting the best deal, almost to a fault at times. And so I decided I want to arm myself and other consumers with information and data-driven numbers, not just a gut feeling or what we feel we deserve. So this led me into two separate studies. I decided that all car purchasers kind of fall into two different categories. They're either buying a new car or they're buying a used car, and there's pros and cons to both. So I figured I would try and find the best selling price for both types of vehicles. When purchasing a new car, the question I was wondering was, does median household income affect a new car's selling price? So my logic behind that was, well, if a car dealer is selling a car in a state where I live in, like Illinois, where prices are higher, versus a state like Oklahoma, how could someone with a lower income afford the same new car? Wouldn't it make sense for car dealerships to kind of adjust the price based on the surrounding income? So that's the first question I set out to solve. The next question I had would be for purchasing a used car. When purchasing a used car, what is the ideal price for a used car based on that car's mileage? So does the car's mileage have an effect on its final selling price? And most of us understand, yes, that does play a significant role. However, is there a way using statistics to find that ideal level for good amount of mileage for also a good price? So the first study that I am going to show you my research for is purchasing a new car. When purchasing a new car, I decided to look at the most popular car in the United States. That way I would have a variety of data points. So that was actually the Toyota Corolla. So I decided to look at the 2018 brand new Toyota Corolla, and I looked at the base model, which is the L model, with no add-on, so just the base car by itself. I, again, live in the state of Illinois, so I decided to look at the median household income for each county in Illinois, and I went ahead and listed that in a spreadsheet. From there, sometimes counties have multiple cities, and so in order to research how much the new car is selling for, most of the times I was going to need a zip code. So just remain fair for each of the counties, I decided that I would figure out where the county courthouse is located and use that city's zip code to find a selling price. I inputted that data into Kelley Blue Book, which is a well-renowned website for giving you fair and accurate car sales prices. So on Kelley Blue Book, you type in the car you want it. So for me, it's a 2018 Toyota Corolla L. And then you type in your zip code, and it gives you a fair selling price, which you can see on the graphic below. I decided to go with the fair purchase price, which is right below the fair market range for my data. So I did this for each of the counties in Illinois, found the fair purchase price, and listed that in a table to create this graph. As you can see, our data is very flat and straight. There was not a lot of variation in the sales prices listed for a new car, according to Kelley Blue Book. I decided to run a linear regression for this data because it looked like a very straight line. I figured a line of best fit would make most sense. And that gave me a slope of essentially 0. So what that told me is that despite the household income, there really was no change in the new car price. So no slope means no correlation. So no matter what the median household income was for a county in Illinois, the selling price of the new car really didn't change significantly. If I were to run this test again, I would improve my research by going more in depth and actually contacting local dealers for their sale prices, because on Kelley Blue Book, I was only given about 3 different price options with all of the hundreds of counties that I looked up in Illinois. So it was not very specific, and so that did not create a lot of variation in my data points, which could have led to skewed results. The next study that I did was purchasing a used car. So again, I decided to stick with that most popular car in America, which is the Toyota Corolla. I decided to go with a 2016 model because it's new enough that we would still have a variety of low mileage used cars, but also old enough where some people would have driven that past the 100,000 mile mark. I also went with the LE model this time, so this is one step up from the base model. This was a more popular choice, so again, I could find a variety of data points. When looking up my data points, I decided to use certified used vehicles because a certified car is more reliable as far as maintenance and condition of the car, which I did not want to be an extra variable for my data. I recorded my data of the selling prices from a variety of reputable used car websites such as TrueCar, Cars.com, CarMax, and I also looked at some local dealer websites, our local Toyota dealers, certified vehicles. I only focused on the listed price for this study as opposed to the previous study with the new cars where I was trying to find an actual selling price. This study, I just focused on the listed price. And here is my data plotted on our graph. You can see that there's a definite negative slope across our data with a slope of negative 0.04. With a negative slope, that proved that there was a connection between mileage and price, which is actually really useful information. So as the mileage increases, the price decreases, which makes sense. However, what I really thought was useful from this data is actually if I were right now to walk into a dealer to buy a Toyota Corolla LE that's used, I could actually use my line of best fit, plug in for X the number of miles that car has, and be given a fair price. So you can see some of our data points are significantly above our line of best fit. That means that those cars are most likely overpriced based on the trend that our statistics showed us. So that was actually really helpful information that I wasn't originally planning on receiving, but now I have this wonderful formula where if I was negotiating a used car price, I could simply plug in my values and say, statistically, here's what a fair selling price would be. If you're below that line, that means you're getting a really good deal and you should snatch that up. So it actually created a lot of useful information for consumers. If I were to improve this study, I would definitely increase the number of data points. The more data that we have, the clearer that line's going to be and the more educated consumers will be. So from this study, I learned that 1, I use new cars. There is not a lot of variation in price. It is what it is, unfortunately. And used cars, I received the information about how to successfully negotiate using statistics.